All right, and we are back, and ladies and gentlemen, my next friend and guest is an absolute legend of the sports, been in the game for a long time. It's an absolute honor to have you on the show. Welcome, Geoff May.
What's
I like
happening,
that.
guys?
I like that. He's just like, hey, what's going
Hey,
on?
I'm here. Look, Ma on TV.
Oh man, I love it, man. So Jeff, listen, we got a lot to talk about. Super excited to have you on. So let's just get into it. Where did your journey begin on two wheels?
It's a little crazy. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really make much sense. But I got to start way back, I guess. So my dad was a pilot. He was a Delta captain, right? So I grew up in Atlanta, and my dad liked to race cars for hobby. So he raced SCCA. So I pretty much grew up at Road Atlanta on the weekends, watching my dad go around in a car. And I had dreams of racing cars, to be honest. And in high school, parents got divorced. Life kind of went sideways. My dad went out on disability, so he didn't have the money he did before when he was flying full time. And I had grown up chasing my cousin around and riding dirt bikes and motocross, and really just. And there was a lot of land in Georgia at the time, and so I spent thousands of hours on a dirt bike sliding that thing around and jumping and chasing my buddies around. So that kind of gave me the backbone and the skill set to be a good road racer. And growing up in high school, I realized like, man, I can't afford to race cars. And I went out to, I remember it was 1998. I went to the Big Kahuna at Road Atlanta. I just graduated, and I was like, man, I can do that. These dudes aren't that fast. Like, I can do that. And everybody, it always looks easier than this, right? But I went and took Freddie Spencer School out in Las Vegas, and another that's a whole nother side story there. But Freddie actually told me, he's like, dude, you're good. He's like, you could have a career at this if you stick with it. He's like, I've never seen anybody that's never ridden a street bike before this quick. And I sold everything I had. I bought one of his leftover school bikes and a van, and I started racing immediately in 1999. That was 2 months after the class and CCS. And first weekend was kind of terrible. Um, it didn't go as planned. I thought I was some hot shot, and I was just going to go out there and smoke everybody. And I fell down in the third corner of my first lap. And probably
Oh,
one of the worst corners at Roebling. I crashed in turn three, and it's about 120-mile-an-hour corner, and pretty much destroyed the bike and broke my thumb. And my dad was with me, and he's like, "Man, I don't think I can do this with you, man. Like, this is brutal." We ended up taking the bike back together, got it all back together, missed all the race on Saturday, and then Sunday was raining, and I went out there on the bike. And I mean, back in those days in '99, there was like 60 dudes on the grid in the 600 race. I think I started 30 something, and I ran all the way up to like eighth, and wet on dry tires. I didn't even have rain tires back then. And I was like, okay, and everybody's laughing at me. Friends were like, man, you're an idiot. And so it didn't start off well, but I came back to the next round in March, which is typically when Roebling's really nice. And damned if I didn't win all the races, man. Like, I knew I had some speed, but I came out and I won all my races on the 600, and that really gave me confidence that, right, this is what I'm doing with my life, man. I'm racing bikes. And for a while there, honestly, I was a painfully shy kid when I was in my late teens. There, I was 19 when I started. So my dad wouldn't go to the races with me anymore. He's like, I can't watch you crash like that ever again. And I don't want to do all this work. It's hot. It sucks. So I ended up that whole season putting my bike in my van and going and racing by myself. And I would go to races, set up my bike, set up my little tent, sleep in the van, race all my races, and go home. And pretty much not even talk to a soul, except for what other random dude would come over and be like, "Holy shit, who are you?" Like, "You're fast, man." And then that kind of snowballed into the next year. I immediately went expert, and got a good mechanic from one of the local shops. His name was Hippie. Went by Hippie. Everybody knows him as Chris Burkle. And he started wrenching for me, built a motor for me, and started winning everything, man. And That was 2000, my first year expert. Got Ducati of Atlanta behind me. Started racing Ducati, and did my first pro race. I went out and did. I used to have Pro Thunder at Road Atlanta in early. It was 2000. So I met Pat Mooney and a couple other guys, but did pretty good. I think I got fifth or eighth or something in my first Pro Thunder race, and we focused on Weira National or Weira Club Racing and CCS in the Southeast that year in 2000, and went to the GNF at the end of the year, and I had pole for all my classes as an expert, thinking, this is it. I'm going to win all these national championships. And I went out there in the first race, GTU, and I think I was running in the front, like for the lead, and it started sprinkling on the back straightaway. And Daytona's so damn big that it can be raining in one corner and sunny on the other. And they didn't have any flags out, and this was before air fence. So I go rolling off into the chicane, flip it left, flip it right, and as soon as I flick the bike right going into the chicane, the back end washed out, just low sided from the back. And man, it shot me straight into the wall because the wall was a lot closer there in the chicane too. And broke my femur in half. Man, they didn't have air fences back then. It was just hay bales. So I didn't know what did at the time. Like we thought maybe the bike hit me or something like that. But we actually saw a video back then. It was VHS. That dates me how old it was. Like they had freaking VHS videos is how they would record races and highlights. And so I got this awesome souvenir I keep on my desk. So that came out of me. That was in my femur for a while. But that was kind of like a big tipping point in my career, and I use it to tell a lot of people because it was honestly the spark. At the time, it seemed like the worst thing that could ever happen, and I was in the hospital for 2 weeks, and it took me about 3 months to learn how to walk again. And going into 2001, I couldn't ride for half the season because I couldn't get my leg on the bike. Like I couldn't bend it enough to sit on the seat. But through that time, I thought, okay, I can quit right now, and nobody will give me shit about quitting because I got mangled pretty good. And the other thing a lot of people don't know also that very, very few people know in racing at all, but I broke this thumb off. This is my throttle hand. So they reattached it, and I have no joints in that thumb. It's just a straight bone. So I had to relearn how to use the throttle. Like no one ever knew it, but that's I crab clawed. I squeeze it with my thumb and hold on like that. So at the time I got messed up hand, broken femur, all this stuff. I'm like, man, I can quit. And like maybe I should quit. Like I don't have any money. I was working at a dealership to pay to do all this stuff. And no one would think the wiser. Or if I am gonna do it, I gotta go balls deep, man. I gotta go all out, everything I got, and never look back. And after the winter and the all the rehab and all that, I decided to go all in, man. And I came back with a vengeance in 2001. And another thing that happened that kind of really sparked my career to the next level is I worked at a dealership, and a guy that year had the 2001 Gixxer 1000. It was the first year of the Gixxer 1000. And he went up in the mountains and wrecked the thing. He's one of the guys that like do wheelies on the street, but he went up in the mountains, he wrecked it. And I was like, hey man, let me buy that from you. Like, I want to go race it because Suzuki had killer contingency. And so what I did is I bought it back from the insurance company for $2,500, and it was pretty much cosmetic total. It had like a dent in the frame. It was cosmetic, all body work. So bought a set of shark skins and a slip-on muffler and a shock, and started racing that thing. And when I went from racing 600s and that Ducati 748, when I got to the big bike, I don't know, man, like the light switch just happened, and I won every single race I entered on that bike, even from the start. Like, and then used to be gridded by points, so I showed up back of the grid and won. And then John Orich kind of got attention to me because back then they had the Suzuki Cup final and the Weir GNF, and he reached out to me to race for, at the time it was Valvoline. And I was like, yeah, man, this is awesome. Like things are like turning around and life's going great. And then again, something happened, man. He calls me back. I'll never forget. He's like, hey, Jeff, this is like 2 weeks before the event. He's like, you can't ride my bike. And I'm like, what? He's like, you can't ride my bike, man. I'm sorry. You're a Pirelli rider and we're Michelin. And Michelin said they'll kill my contract if you come on board and ride my bike. And he's like, you know what I'll do to make it right? He's like, I'll throw you some cash. You put Road Racing World on the side of that thing. And, you know, I'll do the best I can to support you, man. I'm sorry. And so we went that route. And I showed up to Road Atlanta and really had no points because I got the bike so late in the year, even though I'd won 2 races. At that time, there were so many dudes and so many bikes that still put me on the back row at Road Atlanta. And so 2001, I showed up and I was 47th on the grid, which is at Road Atlanta was in turn 12, basically.
Yeah.
I remember like the bike was trying to roll because it's downhill.
Yeah.
And in an 8-lap race, I went from 47th to first and won my first national championship. And it was Trey Beatty, Chris Ulrich, Mark Young. I mean, it was Scott Harwell, like all these big name dudes. And at the end of that thing, John was so excited. It's funny to see John Ulrich being excited like that. And he couldn't believe it. And he went straight over to Michelin guy at the time and chewed his ass out.
I bet he did. I
Like,
bet he did.
the guy was talking trash, like, oh, he's nobody. You don't want him. He's on Pirellis. He'll never be anything. And John just went and reamed his ass. So that's really where things started to catapult, man. And that was when I went all in. Like, that was my life, you know.
Yeah.
Eat, breathe, live, shit, motorcycle racing. That's it.
I love it, man. What a journey, man. I actually want to take it back to the Freddie Spencer school, man. You said you had another side story about Freddie Spencer. I actually met Freddie Spencer the first time at VIR. I can't remember the year. It had to be in 2001. I'm walking down through the paddock and I look and I'm like, holy shit, Freddie Spencer. And the dude next to me had no idea it was his first time at the race. He's like, who's Freddie Spencer? I said, I'll be right back. Ran over there, got a picture. Fast forward to this year, I was a VIP guest at BTR. Big shout out to Scott and everybody at BTR. I'm a huge fan of the program. Interview all the girls, yada yada. Anyway, so I go there this weekend, and there he is, Freddie Spencer. And we had this, like our conversation we had at Atlanta, Georgia. It was just surreal experience for me being a fan, just like I'm a fan of yours growing up my whole life, watching you guys on TV and winning and all the emotions, you know, you gave to us fans. It was incredible. So, yeah, you know, and then getting advice like that from Freddie showing up at the first day going, are you sure you never rode before?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal, like you said, man. I got this world champion telling me that, you know, I'm an 18-year-old kid that, man, if you just you got something, if you just dedicate yourself this, you might have a career at it, you know, and it's like he spoke it into existence. But the cool part was the sidebar was Keanu Reeves was there. He was in my class with me. And I was like starstruck too of him at the time because of the Matrix and all that, and you know the movies he'd been in, and growing up in the '90s, all his stuff. And here he was, a motorcycle fan. He was there with his buddy, taking the course, same course I was, and he was good. Like he was good back then in '98. So coming full circle, seeing what he's doing now with Arch motorcycles, and he's in GP paddock, our paddock, all that stuff, man. It's pretty neat because who would have known, you know, back then, big
Yeah.
Hollywood star just out there taking a class.
Daytona this year, I was there and Arch was there, obviously. And I'm walking by and I looked over and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Huge fan of Keanu. He's been my favorite actor since I was a little kid. Johnny Utah, right? One of my favorite movies, Point Break, man. So I finally get the balls, right? Me not having the balls to go talk to somebody. Imagine that. But I mean, it took me a minute because, like you, I was so starstruck. Like, I can't believe Keanu's like right here. I've watched him my whole life. Walk up to him nonchalantly. I was like, man, I know you hear this all the time, Johnny Utah. And he was like, damn, you taking it way back, right? And I said, man, enough about the movies. Just huge fan. I want to talk about motorcycles. And we sat there for like 10 minutes, talking about motorcycles while he was smoking his cigarette. At Daytona, got a picture, ran straight to my dad, and was like, bro, who is this? He said, shut up. That's Johnny Utah. I was like, yes, my man, let's go. So yeah, it's always surreal when you meet somebody that you've always watched on TV, and they're super, super humble and such a down to earth person.
Yeah. I mean, the cool thing too about that experience for me is it wasn't just like, oh, that's, it's cool. Like you got 10 minutes. Dude, I spent 2 days with a guy and like shooting the shit with him and riding. And we did even some stuff on some XR100s in the dirt and just cutting up, shooting the shit. And I was like, man, this guy is so down to earth and normal. Like it blew me away. And I thought at the time, I was like, maybe because I didn't treat him like a star. Like honestly, I acted like I didn't even know who the hell he was. But we're out there going fast together, so that was pretty neat. And the funny thing is, I haven't been able to see him since. Like everywhere since he's been coming to the racetrack with Arch and all that. It was after I retired, and I haven't really been in any races except for when I saw you earlier this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to be at Jersey? Because I think the last is Super Hooligans will be at Mid Ohio this next weekend.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't. Honestly, I mean, it's Jersey's too far. Like that's a 15-hour drive for me
Oh
from
yeah.
here. Um, I don't know. I don't see much happening this year, but maybe next year. Got some stuff, maybe.
Good, good, good. Everybody's journey is everybody's got their own beautiful journey into motorcycles. And at the time we start, Jeff, we don't realize how much it's going to change us and what it provides for us, or the happiness, even our mindset. I always talk about the mental side of the game when motorcycles, because it's very real, right? People don't realize the fans that walk through, and you might be having a bad day, but they don't realize on what's going on behind the scenes, right? Like I said, you're just a normal person, just like me. You just have this special gift right here where you just do magic on two wheels, and it's absolutely amazing. I always loved your riding style because it was so unique to everybody else's. It was like poetry in motion, the way you approach corner. Not only that, it was the way you handled your fans too at the track. Even if you had a bad day, you always stopped, smiled, took that picture, signed the autograph, and always put out that positive energy. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it was different in that sense too. I got to realize really early on, in the early 2000s, man, like at Road Atlanta, there'd be 80,000 people there. It's like, imagine going and seeing a Braves game or, Mets or Yankees game, man. There was so many people there, and I realized from the start that I was nobody, man. I didn't come up in this. I didn't have anybody backing me. I didn't have anybody paying for my race. I worked at a dealership and scrounged up my pennies, and whatever I could go race on, I'd go race. Like I see other guys doing it too, man. It was just the drive to do it, and I was lucky enough that at the time, the contingency, the winnings, it was enough that if you won, you could survive and pay rent and eat and race and live off of that alone. And I realized with the fans, it's like without the fans, then there ain't gonna be no money, right? Like that's the whole reason why we get paid is because there's fans. And I wanted to always give everybody and anybody, the time because they spent their hard-earned money to come out there and watch me. Like, so that was the mindset I had from the get-go.
I think it's proper mega, as I always say. It's awesome to see that, because not a lot of um, people that participate in our sport are that way, especially when things are not going their way, right? But at the same flip side of that, fans got to realize too, if somebody's going through something, um, it's hard not to approach you. You know what I mean? Because we're so excited, because we only get to see you once or twice a year, some of us, when we show up at the track. So
And we're
yeah,
more
so
accessible than anybody else, right? Like any other pro sport, especially
100%.
Moto America, the paddock's open. Like you're accessible to everybody walking just from the pit lane back to your rig, even if, like you said, you just destroyed a motorcycle and you're hurt and you don't know if you're gonna have a ride anymore. And here comes Joe Schmo up to you, wanting to say hi.
Shove a camera in your face real quick, small click, but what an honor for you at the same time, right? Yeah,
100%, man.
it's yeah. So let's go fast forward. Chris Ulrich, the whole Michelin thing, and then I know you rode for Michael Jordan, man. What was that like hanging out with MJ?
It's pretty surreal too, man. I mean, honestly, it's another one. It's one that I actually look back on with a little bit of career, because that's how I wanted to always race with no regrets. I wanted, that's how I live life, man. I don't want to look back and be like, damn. But honestly, I have a little bit of regret from Michael Jordan, and I didn't realize it until that his Last Dance came out, and I watched it, the whole thing. I actually watched it a couple times with my son. It's great production, and I was like, damn, knowing the backstory of MJ and just being able to be a part of that at the time. It was more, I don't know how to say it, man, but like, so I was racing for M4. I raced for M4 for 3 years, and things were going really good, man. Like I was rocking it in M4, loved my crew, loved the bike, loved the team, was getting paid awesome. And Suzuki came to me and they said, "You're gonna leave M4 and you're gonna go to Jordan, and you're gonna learn the Dunlops for a year, and then you're gonna get Ben Speed's ride in 2009 when he leaves. That's the plan." I'm like, all right, man. I mean,
Sign me up.
anybody knew that in the 2000s that if you wanted to win a championship on a super bike, you had to be at Yoshimura, or else you're racing for third or fourth.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a fact.
and so that was a lifelong dream, and so going to Jordan, I was more concerned with the performance and making it to the next step. I was so focused on what I was doing that I didn't really get to soak in the fact that I was racing for Michael Jordan, you know, and the times I got to hang out and talk with him. And he's like another one, like Keanu Reeves, is such a down to earth dude, so cool. Like you can just joke and cut up with a guy and shoot the shit. And I look back on it like, man, I wish I would have thanked him, you know, like just been like, thank you. Like that was awesome. That was an awesome 2 years. But that's the price of when you're running at the pointy end of things at the very front. Like, you see guys like what Josh Heron's doing right now, or Cam Bouvier. When you're at the front of this thing, the pointy end, you're so focused on results and lap times and what you can do to be faster and fitness and what you're eating in your life, that a lot of all that other stuff just goes by and you don't realize it until years down the road past, and you're just like, damn, what a time, man. So it's
Yeah, for
funny.
sure.
My son's 13, and you know that was way before him. And I've got in my gym downstairs. I've got a set of Jordan leathers and my helmet that I never wore. Like they're mint. And he's like, I don't believe you knew Michael Jordan. I don't believe it. Like, I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
tell you, buddy. I used to sit in the paddock and chat and shoot the shit with him.
That's awesome. I love it. My son's 12, and one thing I realized, Jeff, that once I had my kid, man, time where does the time go? It's like these past 12 years for me and 13 years for you. It just goes by like a blink of an eye. It's crazy.
It seems like yesterday, man. Like
Yeah.
I talk about Jordan stuff, and all the memories are crystal clear of. I mean, even races. Like I can replay the races in my mind I had with Aaron Yates and Jake Holden and other dudes back then against Tommy Hayden and Blake Young and freaking Matt Mladen, all of them, right? But then you bring it up and then you do the math and you're like, wait a minute, dude, shit, man, that was 15 years ago. Or wait, no, now it's even more. It's like 16, 17 years ago. It's like, man, that's irrelevant.
Right?
It's irrelevant.
Oh,
But it's
that's
not,
no,
it's
it's not.
also that's the other cool thing is you look back at it and dude, some of the lap times we did back then are still faster than what they're doing now at a
Yep.
lot of tracks. So it's, you know, racing has gotten to a pinnacle of like horsepower and grip, and there's just not enough grip to go any faster than what we had then, even though the bikes are far superior. So
Yeah.
it's an
What
interesting thing.
what do you think, just speaking on that terms real quick, what do you think the state of racing is now with all these electronics on that versus the way it was back then? Me personally, I think, I don't know, some people disagree, some people agree. As a young kid getting into the sport now, being used to all these electronics and learning to do this and just trust the ECU and all that stuff and the data guy, um, I think it takes a little bit of the natural ability away, rawness of not trusting the electronics, but trusting your instincts and that feel you have. Is that any different for you?
It's a double-edged sword, right? So I come from before it existed. Honestly, it started to come in around that time when I was racing for Jordan in '08, '09 is when people started talking about it, but it was really rudimentary to the point where I figured out early on it wasn't doing anything. Honestly, it was just slowing you down. And it was a little bit of a placebo effect where people thought it did something because it was an audible effect. You could hear it doing something, but it really didn't. I believe that you really need, especially if you're ever going to be at the front of Moto America and on a 1000 and stock 1000 or superbike, you ever get to that level, and even maybe now more of a middle, larger than a middleweight, right? You got Gixxer 750s, you got R9, you got the Ducati. They got some serious torque, so you can really slide the thing. You need to know fundamentals of being able to ride that thing, ride the dog shit out of it, and be just as fast with everything off. Um, and it's hard with the next generation of kids. You see them where I've been behind them and they're like, oh man, that you would not get away with that if you didn't have the high tech electronics, like the bad fundamentals, too much lean angle, too much throttle, and the bike's compensating and keeping them from getting launched on their head. So it's also catch 22 because I see what that does in the sense for all these track day guys um, that are nowhere that they can't have the experience. It takes a long time. It takes a good 4 to 6 years of racing full seasons to really get proficient at riding a motorcycle. I don't care if it's 600 or anything. That's when you really start figure this thing out. And track day guys don't have the time for that, nor do they want to. So it's safer. It saves so many guys from getting thrown on their heads and never coming back because that's one of the things we've fought or we continue to fight is the mindset that motorcycle racing is so dangerous. Y'all are crazy for doing this. And so the TC is a good thing in that side on the production bikes because it does lower the injury rate from the track day and novice level and even maybe the early expert level club racers. It really does help that.
Yeah, yeah. Good point. I see both sides. Yeah, it's just different, right? But moving forward, going from AMA to World Superbike, how did that transition go? And how much fun was that being over there in WSBK? The tracks are totally different. The paddock's totally different. Even though I call it our beautiful circus, it's the same circus. It's just over there, but it still has a different energy. Just like BSB did when I went in 23 to Cadwell Park, completely different energy to Moto America. The fans were just absolutely insane from see it was Saturday, Sunday, Monday the race because it was a bank holiday. So it was from Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it was just wide open. Fans from open to close nonstop. Where
Yeah.
here it's like, Saturday was a big turnout at VR, Sunday, not so much.
Yeah, we're seeing that trend over the last 10 years here, honestly, where Saturdays are bigger than Sundays. It's like people got too much shit going on and they can't enjoy it and they got to get home on Sunday for work on Monday. Instead of like overseas, man, they make it their holiday, right? They're there Wednesday through Monday morning. They go out there and journey with it, man. It's like a circus showing up. But I mean, for me, um, it was I loved the idea of it. I always wanted to race at the world level. That was a goal of mine. Um, and I had some opportunities along the way things may have been different. I don't know. I turned them down. I had an opportunity to go test for Ronald Tenkata Honda back in 2005 and work for World Supersport. And I turned it down because I was like, no, I ride big bikes. I don't ride little bikes.
I love it. I ride big bikes. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and they were like, "What? You're turning down this opportunity?" And that was about the time too that Kenan Safoglu was kicking everybody's teeth in over there. Like it was fierce at that time, and I had a good thing going, man. That's when those them four thing was going, and there was a lot of money in the states. And at the time, we actually made more money over here than those guys did over there. And then again in '08, I talked to Ronald again, and I was like, "Hey, how about that opportunity and come over there and ride in World Superbike?" And I just won at Miller Motorsports for Jordan, and he's like, "How much are you making here?" He's like, I don't think you want to come over there. There's way more money here. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. Things are going good here. And then it came back again, with Eric Buell. And it was a little bit of a catch because we were kind of forced into it. Hero came on board in, I want to say 2012. They came on board for our AMA Superbike effort when it was me and Danny Eslick. And then in 13 it was me and Aaron Yates. And then for 14, that's what Hero wanted. Hero really wanted us to be on the world stage. And so the sponsor kind of dictated it, right? And we weren't quite ready, right? It was a little unfortunate. We weren't quite ready on a technology side. Like, we were just outgunned horsepower, and I knew it, right? So I was involved heavily with every aspect of development of that motorcycle. I wasn't just a rider. I was the technical development rider as well as the star racer for the A rider for the team. So I knew we were outgunned, and I told Eric, I sat down before it happened. I remember it was like in October of 2013. I was like, Eric, I don't want to do this, man. I have no desire to go over there and get 15th, 17th, 18th and just go there and look like shit. I don't think it's good. And he's like, well, what do you mean? You're going to get to travel the world, man, see the world and live in Italy, and it's all paid for, man. It's the dream. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but I'm a racer, dude. I want to win. Like, I know I'm as good as these guys. I don't want to be in the back. And well, it was the take the choice. It was take it or leave it. That's what they were doing. And I was like, all right, man. Well, I'm on board with Buell. This is where I'm at. And I always thought Eric always told me I'd have a job there with him forever. Even after racing was long gone, I was family. And it's like, well, all right, duty calls, man. We're going to Europe. We're going World Superbike racing. And I think the best way I can describe it, and I've told people since, is it was the most polarizing experience I've ever experienced in my life. It was a situation of, honestly, the absolute coolest shit you've ever done in your life and the most awful experiences you've ever had in life. And it changed on a day-to-day basis. So, I mean, looking back on it now, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Like, it was amazing. I got to live in Italy full time, and I got to go wakeboarding in Lake Como with Leon Haslam and hang out with Johnny Ray, and all these guys are superstars, man, all rock stars, and they're all super cool people. That was a way more open paddock. The transition from what was AMA Superbike with the whole Mladen, Spies, hacking, Yates era, Duhamel, like, it wasn't a friendly place, man. There was a lot of money and the competition was fierce. And then here you go over to Europe, and Johnny Ray's hanging out with Leon Haslam with their kids running around the motorhomes and ordering pizza, and we're all hanging out together like family. And they're like, what the hell's going on, man? They invited me in like one of them, and so that was awesome. But then the racing sucked because we had a lot of I had a lot of expectation myself, and I was riding the best I ever was in my career, and the bikes were blowing up constantly just because of some bad parts batches we got, and which was scary. I was convinced that it was going to kill me at some point because I was at Imola on a Monday testing after the weekend, and I had a motor explode on me at 287 kilometers an hour.
Oh
And
shit!
it blew it basically threw the connecting rod of the front cylinder and the rear cylinder at the same time and sawed the motor in half and just exploded oil on the rear tire as I'm going through this. It's like going down into turn one. It's this long bend where you're flat out six gear and there's no runoff to the right. It's kind of like Road Atlanta going down the back straightaway when you go into the bend and it's the walls right there on your left. That thing shot me off the track with oil on the tire, and I'm just riding it like a cowboy through the skating the wall the whole way. And I stopped right where Senna passed away. Like, we're all the memorial stuff right there. And I stopped right there, and it's on my face. And it's like, oh man, like it gave me chills, and I'll never forget it. And from that point on, which was mid-season, it was hard to give it everything we had because they kept popping. We couldn't trust them. And, be 2 weeks in between races, and Yates would have the same thing. We'd be so distraught, so beat down. And then we'd come back 2 weeks later, we'd have optimism and hope, and we built ourselves back up and ready to go. And we go out there in the first section, same old thing happened. And then it just air would come out again. And, we just had to keep fighting and fighting and fighting all year long. And we just didn't have what we needed from a technological standpoint. And we knew it was better because we'd done it in AMA, but we couldn't run what we had in AMA due to the homologation rules. It had to be the new bike, the new motor. And they got a bad batch of cylinders, and the cylinders were actually exploding, and then throwing the rod from bad batch of metal. So I blew up 13 motors in that season.
That's
Me,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
13 and catastrophic, not like poof,
yeah,
and you roll offside like blam and throw you on your head kind of thing. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it was tough, and then it ended abruptly, and Eric got wind of basically Hero sinking EBR on purpose. Like they just stopped paying the bills, and they owed him $18 million, and basically stopped paying. Eric couldn't make payroll. So in Wisconsin, when you can't make payroll, your company goes up for receivership, goes up for auction. And so the Hero guys did that on purpose so that they could come in on the back end and do a deal with the court and get the intellectual property they wanted, which they did for pennies on the dollar. And there went EBR into the history books. And 100 and I think it was 130 people lost their jobs at the time. Happened to me late. We moved back from Italy. Moto America just started, and all the rides are taken. So there was musical chairs, like you see, it happens to all riders, man. At some point, the music stops, and you're left without a seat. And
yeah,
that was, I was lucky from then on to do what I did at Daytona, kind of my own, go club race and make some money doing that, stay relevant in the sport, got some wins in super stock, and was able to, still make some money and have some fun and be relevant. But it really was kind of a death blow as far as being a factory rider or as a rider as I knew it, where, you know, every single penny I made in my life was from racing a motorcycle. It wasn't like, you see now where guys have a job or your parents are paying for it or anything. That was like, no, every single thing I own was from racing a motorcycle and dedicating my life to it. So that was a big blow to come back in 2015 at 35 years old and have to become a grown up when I only knew how to do one thing. So yeah,
yeah,
it was good and bad, right? Like, but I have amazing memories of my wife and my son and the people I met. And I continue to go back to Italy every other year and see all my friends over there, and we'll be friends for the rest of our life. So it's I can't look back at it with any kind of distaste or bad ill will, because at the end of it, I gained so much, even though it wasn't the ideal experience that you would want as a competitor.
yeah. And what an amazing career and journey you've had too, as well. One question I do have for you, that year you talked about EBR mentally. How did you fight that mentally to still want to show up and race that next race, fearing the inevitable almost?
I mean, I think it's character, right? Like we talked about with the fans earlier. I felt like it was my duty and obligation because I signed up for it. Eric believed in me at a time and brought me on board when maybe nobody else did. Another low point in my career, and he gave me a whole 5 years more of a career and salary and money and a life, and being able to help create that motorcycle from the ground up and have a say in everything. So it's like, no, it's my duty, man. I signed up for this, whether it kills me doing it or not. I'm going to go out there and give it 11 tenths every single time. And,
I love it.
God's got my back, right? So
That's right. No,
we don't get, none of us get to choose when we go, right? I
no,
mean,
no, no, we don't. And that's one thing. I had a conversation with my buddy like that. He's like, talking about the bad stigma road racing's got, with all that bad side, the death side of it, right? Let's just be honest, it does happen, right? But I told him, I said, listen, for our friends that do it, or you being a fan of somebody that ended up doing that, man, to them, that was probably the best way that they ever wanted to go out, right? And they accept what the consequence that could happen. And also their family members do too. They're just not ready for it when it happens because nobody is, just like you said, right? So it's just again, it's the yin to the yang. You know what I'm saying? Of anything, but it happens in all sports, boxing, whatever.
I
I,
gotta say though, I mean, luckily for me, I got it with how bad it was for me early on that I got a really good taste of it, and some people died that I knew at the same time too. So I accepted that early on, and I think it was also maybe Wayne Rainey said it, in that early time period too. He's like, if you can't accept this fact that this might kill you or you might end up like me, if you can't look at me and be willing to risk that, then you have no business being out here. And I think all of us, or most of us, accept that. And I think for the guys, if there's anybody out there doing track days or not, then you need to take a serious look at it, because it is a reality. It is also a reality that, you know what, lightning might strike you, a tree limb might fall on you, some drunk dude might hit you. I've seen more people die in the paddock over my 25 years from random dumb stuff, like
yeah,
Tommy Aquino getting landed on, Dane Westby getting taken out by somebody pulling out of a Burger King or whatever. Blake Kelly slid on some black ice and rolled his car into a frozen lake. It happens another way. 99% of the time, it's not from racing.
no,
So
it's not.
it's not. But you do need to accept the reality that, like, hey, what if what if I get hurt? You need to love it that much that you're willing to accept to take that risk.
100%. On that note, did you ever consider doing the TT?
I got invited. They pressured me hard, man. So no, I luckily early in my career in 2003 and 4, I got invited to race Macau. So I did the Macau GP with those dudes, which are all nuts. And I did good. Like, so I was the top first guy there. Like, I got 5th place, and they were blown away because I beat regulars and TT winners. And so the offers started coming to go race the TT. Like, you gotta race TT, you gotta race TT. And at the time, my career was really taking off in the AMA. I'm like, man, the Macau GP is a little under 5 miles. It's like 4.5 miles, like Road America. You can memorize it like a short course, 38 miles around. There ain't no way you're learning that. And then the buddies I did meet in Macau that did race the TT, they're like, yeah, it takes 4 years to learn that course, like to where you can really go after it. It's like, no, I don't have a death wish in that sense, man. Like, I enjoyed Macau and I did it twice, but I would never go back and do it again. It's young and dumb and 23, 24 at the time.
Did it take a
Josh
different
Hayes was
mindset?
there with me, believe it or not.
Yeah, yeah,
Josh
I
Hayes and I
remember.
were there, and we got 4th and 5th
Yeah,
together that year.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I've watched. Yeah, that's why I asked the question, because I was going to lead into the Macau because I knew you went there. Yeah. So speaking of that, real quick, Jeff, did that take a different approach in mindset racing in Macau than it did AMA or Moto
Yeah,
America? Yeah,
yeah. Because I had a little of it from growing up racing at Road Atlanta, right? Like, we used to use the old turn 12, and then the way the S's were, the old S's, where there's 2 places you didn't crash in turn 12, and you did not crash there in what I call turn 4, which sends you into the bottom of the S's. Because if you crash there, you're going to hit that wall, and you're going to hit it in 120, 140 miles an hour. So I took that approach to Macau. It was based on the angles, right? I'd look at the angles of impact, and it would go from like 8/10, kind of like racing in the rain, where you got a little bit in reserve, to 10/10. There's areas you can go 10/10, 11/10, and there's areas you go 8/10, because if you screw it up, you're dead.
yeah,
And so that's how I attacked it. And honestly, it was a little bit more like rain racing, or let's say like intermediate condition racing, where you leave a lot more on the table. You just can't carry the same lane angles. You don't have the same level of grip because it's bumpy. It's a street, so it's really bumpy. Bikes jacking around. It's not set underneath you the same way, and you can't see the corners because the walls block the apex, so everything's blind. And if you turn in too early, you end up scrubbing your back on the wall. It's a lot of pictures on the internet of different dudes doing that, but um, it was awesome though. I can tell you, it was a thrill because going 185 miles an hour down through a city street, man. through skyscrapers. It was like Star Wars. It's pretty
I
cool.
bet. Yeah, with the black and yellow guardrails you see there.
Like
Yeah.
warp speed, man. Like
Going into hyperdrive, baby. Let's go. Ah, yeah. I love it, man. I love it. I actually want to get to a couple of these comments because I've had a bunch coming in. So my man Dial Brinkley, what is up? He says, my guys, Jeff and Chris, I've known this guy since he raced 1990s model F3. I think he was like 17 at Roswell Fun Machines.
that's where I got my start working a parts counter. Dial was a customer of mine. Used to come in and buy parts for his CBR 1000. And so I was 1999 is when I started. Freddie Spencer was 98. I was 18, just out of high school.
Love it.
He got a late start, man. Real late start nowadays.
And that's rare. You don't hear that nowadays.
I think it's me and Josh Hayes are the only two that really have that in common.
Yep, absolutely. I remember I was in Phoenix at the time, and I was hearing whispers about this guy down there in Texas World Speedway just killing everybody, Josh Hayes. I was like, who's this Josh Hayes, guys? And fast forward, he's 50 years old out there still ripping it up in Moto America. So
it's still winning.
Age is just a number.
It is, man. It really is. And 40s is the new 30s.
Facts.
And 30s is when you're the fastest on a super bike.
Right. Absolutely. And I see actually the state of our series now, basically all the series eventually where the 600s are going to be the dominant class. I just don't, it's super bike class is just so expensive. You got two bikes, that's probably at least $500,000, and that's just in two bikes. And then when you're at that level, you got to pay a data acquisition guy and a suspension guy and the travel and the team trucks, and there's a whole lot to go to it. Whereas 600s, especially with the state that it's in now, right, where you got the Ducati 959s and the Triumph 675s and the R9s and the 750s. To me, that's more accessible, I guess, to normal people without big budgets. Not saying that it's not, because it really is a big budget, especially at the top level in super sport. What do you think of that?
It really is. I mean, you can see it, man. It's not doesn't matter about opinion. Look at what happened to the Daytona 200 when they switched to this platform. You lost half the grid, and the reason being it's dollars. It just costs too much. The investment up front's too big, and you can't make anything on the back end. So unless you just got money to burn. And that eliminates a lot of people, man, because the 600 class used to be where everybody could go compete, and it was a level playing field pretty much. It's where talent could shine. So I'm not in favor of what they've done. I know why they've done it, but it's just another step where I feel like it's maybe not the best scenario, unfortunately, because you're back into the same thing, man. Like what they've done with Super Sport, with the R9 and it having different swing arm, and you got different offset clamps and links, and I think from what I've been told, it's $10,000 to $15,000 right off the rip to have the electronic system to meet homologation, right? To be able to balance the power on these things like they've done, like car racing. And I grew up in a different era, man, and honestly, you got to keep costs down, and we're seeing it so much in the United States. Everybody's seeing it with inflation, and the sport hasn't kept up with inflation. It's gone backwards the other way. Where, for example, back in 2004, my last year as a privateer, you could go buy a Gixxer 1000 for $8,800. That was dealer cost, $8,800 for 1000. You could go to a WERA weekend or a CCS weekend. Didn't matter what. A regional, they paid $2,000 to win. A national, they paid $2,000 to win in two classes. So if it was a combined event, you could go make $8,000 on that said bike and damn near pay for it in one weekend. Tires were free. So now we've got the other end, the motorcycles, the new CBR, ZX10, R1. I don't care. Any one of them, the M model, R model, whatever, that you need to go race, you're talking close to $28,000 to $30-something thousand. And you can't even make that back on a whole season. I mean,
and that's what the Talent Cup bike costs. Think of that, right? The entry level Talent Cup bike costs $24,000. But this is a whole nother conversation. I mean, you get ready to go down a rabbit hole. We'll save this for our next podcast for sure. But yeah, it's back, this is the best way I can explain it to people. I said, back then, sponsorships and Yoshimura Suzuki, Muzzy, Kawasaki would approach Geoff May and say, hey, we're going to give you X amount of money to represent our bike and our brands, and you ride our bike. Now it's when you approach team, it's how much money you going to give me to wear my team shirt and ride my bike, right? It's completely opposite. So
it was all driven, Luckily, I paid attention at the time. John Ulrich was really good, man. He's a super smart dude. That's why he's been in the paddock for 40 plus years. But the way the game was back in the 2000s, we all had speed vision, right? You had Two Wheel Tuesday, you had speed vision. Races were live on TV, and it was your sponsorship dollars were all based on how many seconds or minutes you could get on TV. Well, guess what? If you're leading the race or you're racing for the win, you're getting all that TV time. So the teams needed the fastest riders, because without the fastest riders, you ain't on TV. So it was all driven by performance, like every other sport: baseball, football, hockey, basketball, you name it. It was driven by talent. And these teams would hire people and court them based on the most talented rider they could afford based on their sponsorship. And so we all got paid a salary. And on top of the salary, you got your bonus program for where you finished in the said race in your class. And on top of that, if you won a championship, you got championship bonus. And then on top of that, you had your personal deals with the right helmets, Dainese leathers, an energy drink, you name it, whatever you could come up with to keep stacking on top. And it was a real profession where you could dedicate your life to it and make a really good living. And now I have a real problem with these younger guys coming up, and they're selling the dream. But what's this guy going to do that wins the talent cup? Where's he going to go? He ain't going to go nowhere. That thing's got nothing to do with what a super sport bike will do or a super bike will do. He doesn't have the talent yet or the time. It's going to take him another couple of years. But how much money did you spend to win the talent cup? 200 grand, 300 grand? I mean, come on. Same thing, super sport. How much money you got to spend to be at the front? You ain't going to beat PJ. You're not going to beat Matthew Schultz, guys that did race for money like I did.
No.
And are out there going to get paid. Those dudes are savage, man. You ain't going to beat them. So I feel bad for all the young guys coming up. They're being sold a false dream, and they're paying for it.
Yeah,
it's not a good scenario, man.
No, it's not. Ryan Rawls, what is up, my man? He says Geoff May is one of my favorites. Awesome interview, Chris. Thank you. And he also says proud to have some of Jeff's race worn stuff in his RRL collection. It's awesome.
Ryan Rawls, super fan, man. He's been my number one fan since the privateer days, man. Way back.
Yeah, Ryan's awesome. He's a buddy of mine. It's always an honor to see Ryan. I met him in person several times. Yeah, he's freaking awesome. Let's see. We got Danny Rodriguez. What is up, my man? He says, good to see you both. Glad you could be here, my friend. Thanks for tuning in.
Right on.
Then we got Mark Morrow. There's no replacement for strong basic skills. It's not. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of BSB, because they're racing 230 horsepower motorcycles with this much electronic assistance, right? And I had this conversation with several people. I personally don't think we need 240, 50 horsepower, because Jake Gagne and all them, they're not using all that horsepower to make those lap times at the track. They're not, right? I would love to see them bring back the electronics to a certain point, bump the horsepower down, and let that natural skill come in. That's why BSB is so good, I think, in my personal opinion.
I mean, anything at this point to lower the cost would be good,
Absolutely.
The money hasn't changed, unfortunately, since Moto America came on board, right? Like what they pay, but we've seen a big jump in bikes, man. I can tell you, back in 2016, 2017, those ZX10s I were buying, dealer cost was $12,900 out the door. Now they're in the 20s.
Yeah.
It's a big difference on the cost of things and the fuel to get there. Everything's doubled. Everything's doubled in the last 10 years, but yet the purses haven't doubled. Contingencies haven't doubled. Kudos to Honda, though. Honda's bringing it back, and I wish others would follow them, because if we had every manufacturer doing what Honda's doing, that would revive the sport. That would bring 100%. It back. That's what we need. It needs a shot in the arm where people are investing and subsidizing this for all the racers and teams out there, where they can make some damn money.
Agree, 110%. Are you people listening to this? Because these are facts right here. It really is. Take it from somebody that's been in the game for a long time. This legend right here. So we got another one. Brian Stokes, bro. What is up, my man? He says Geoff was a good teammate, had some good races with him. I bet you two were caused trouble together too as well. I guarantee you and Brian were trouble. That's double trouble.
Double trouble, man. Tearing shit up, man.
I bet. Oh my god, that's hilarious. And we actually have a question. I know we're getting ready to run out of time right here. It says Jamie Hansen, what's going on, my buddy? He says, how did the Buell compare to other bikes on track with you and the other bikes you've ridden aside from the problems? If you were going to buy an OEM 1190 to turn into a club racing bike, what would you personally do to it from factory to make it a reliable race bike, and what mods would you add?
As far as the new 1190, which is kind of an iteration of a continuation of what I raced, basically. It's a great bike. It's honestly, I have some perspective on it. So after I came back from World Superbike, Eric gave me an EBR 1190 RS that I have back as a bonus in 2012, and I always had that bike. I kept it. Came back from World Superbike, started racing Kawasaki's, raced BMW, and then Arma did that pro shootout thing, where they put up a big purse, $8,000 to win, 6,000 per second. It was a big deal. A lot of pro guys came out, and I brought the EBR out. I hadn't ridden it in 3 years. And my first lap around Barbara, I was like, oh my God, this thing is so good. It is so good. Holy crap. Because I hated it for a minute. I was mad at her. But it is honestly one of the best handling, most fun bikes to ride I've ever ridden. Sadly, where it's at right now compared to the S1000, M1000, CBR, R1M, it doesn't have the power to compete against leader bikes. But if you're looking for a bike to go have fun and race against other V twins or do track days, you can't beat it, dude. It reminds me of, it's like the Shelby Cobra of motorcycles. It's just raw, got grunt like nobody's business, and it sounds awesome, and it's the best turning motorcycle. If you ever ridden an R6, it turns better than an R6, if that gives anybody a clue how well it turns when it's working right.
That's saying a lot too, because R6 turns, you blink or just think it dives in. So yeah, that does say a lot.
You think it and look where you want to go, and it goes there. So I mean, honestly, what you need to do that bike to mod it, it needs it's basically a slip-on. Headers are good, just needs that slip-on exhaust that a few guys make, and it needs a shock and it needs a fork kit. That's it.
There you go. Simple. Yeah, there you go. And then you have a proper weapon at the track. And then we got Bobby. Rick, what is up, Bobby, man? Yeah, talking motorsports. Weekend hangover in the house. It was cool because I actually got to hang out with Bobby at VIR. So big shout out to him and Dustin Corner, man. Good buddies.
Podcasters, man.
We're podcast buddies, man.
Ricky, Bobby, and our bros. I was like, man, I hope he's not mad at me. He finds out I'm on Chris's show.
No, man. No, there's none of that. It's we're all friends in the game. We all, man, we enjoy it. You know, it's
sport needs it, man. Sport needs it all. Everybody. You know?
Does.
I see. That's another thing I was going to talk about. You asked me if I want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
Something popped up. I made a comment about on social media. I've been staying off of it. I've always hated social media, but I was invited to go ride the Buell Super Cruiser prototype, right? It's a cruiser. It's not a race bike. It's a cruiser. And I got the opportunity to ride it at Road Atlanta with STT. They let us come out and do some testing. And I got there. I was like, I've never ridden a cruiser before in my life. I don't know how this is going to go. I had a blast. It's a fantastic motorcycle, and I'm not paid by them. I don't work for them anymore. But I was like, man, this bike on the street is a street bike riding the mountains. I can't believe how good it is for a cruiser. I make a post just saying that, and these guys go to the Weir board, start talking shit, and it's like, that's what's wrong with our industry, man. Like, I'm just saying, hey, this is a good bike. Like, it's really cool. It's a cool motorcycle. It's all positive. And then people, the keyboard jockeys, go to talking shit on the internet with all this negativity. It's like, what are you guys doing? What's the point? You got nothing better to do? That's not good for motorcycling. That's not good for a sport. Everybody arguing over semantics, you know?
Yeah. That's the problem with social media. You know, it's the haters are gonna hate and the lovers are gonna love. You know, and you're right. There's a lot of bullshit and that goes on social media, especially about motorcycles, and it's people that have no fucking clue what's going on, much less ever been to a track day or raced. You know, people got a lot of opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's people that know me would know I'd never say something was good if it wasn't good. you know,
Facts,
I'll
man.
call a turd any day of the week.
Right, because a turd is a turd, right? Andrew Davis says, Jeff, what would you say this is an American problem or a worldwide sport problem as far as going back to the issue the state our sports in?
It's a Moto America problem right now. Unfortunately, the over there they have different problems. It's a different economy, a different market. Um, Chuck Graves put it really well back around that 2015 era when he exited from racing. He's like, over in Europe they had, at Pata, right? Pata chip, that's Pata chips, it's potato chips,
Yeah.
right? And then Stilgarda's milk. So you have all these products over there. They're in all the grocery stores and it's celebrated. Over here, if you put, um, let's just say Bobby Fong on the Attack Yamaha on a box of Wheaties, mom's going to say, hell no, Bobby, you can't have a box of Wheaties. Motorcycles are dangerous. Where in Europe, motorcycles are celebrated. Auto sports, motorsports in general is the number 2 sport next to soccer, which we all know soccer is king. So, no, they have a totally different set of challenges over there. And I think that and lies part of the problem with Moto America. I'm not trying to shit on Moto America. I love Moto America. They're our top series, and there's a lot of amazing racers and people involved in it. But you can't mirror what they're doing in Europe and try to bring it over here and make us do the same thing they're doing in World Superbike because we have a different economy. The motorcycle manufacturers are in a different spot. They're doing different things. They have different marketing campaigns, and we have a different set of rules. So therefore, you can't copy what works over there and expect it to work here because we don't get those sponsorships from mainstream corporate America. We don't have Kraft sponsoring us. We don't have General Mills sponsoring us. We don't have PepsiCo. We don't have Coca-Cola. We don't have Budweiser. If we did, that model would probably work, but we don't. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I agree. I'm laughing at Bobby. Bobby says, Ella, laugh my ass off. All love for Chris. That's hilarious. Oh, man. Nothing but love for you guys, too, as well. Jeff, man, this has been awesome. I didn't even get to none of my personal questions. I only
We'll
told you it
get
was going
to
to
them,
be.
man.
All right, cool. Tell us something we don't know about you at all.
I told you one already.
You did? Okay. Yeah, that's right. All right. I'll skip that one. Are you a coffee drinker or tea drinker?
I'm a big time coffee drinker. I lived
Do
in
you
Italy, man. Like, dude, I gotta have my espresso.
with that's my mom. You get along well with my mom. I'm like, how many shots did you have today, mom? She said 8. I'm like, 8. Oh my god, I'd be wired for a week off of 8 shots of espresso. That's hilarious. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I'm a big audiobook nerd. Do you read or listen to any audiobooks?
Unfortunately, where my life has been the last few years, I have had zero time for almost anything other than in work or racing or family. So I want to. I have plans to. I mean, there's a few podcasters, that I get little snippets here and there, try to get some inspiration and some enlightenment from, but no, not this time.
All right. Well, when you do, and you do have a little bit of time, John Hopkins Leathered is one of my book I highly recommend to people. He's one of them. He just lays it out online. He's talking about his alcohol, issues, his pain pill addiction, smoking weed before racing a MotoGP bike. And sometimes when I listen to autobiographies, I often ask myself, are they really telling the truth about actually what happened? You know what I mean? Because you can make up anything you want to, and people listening to it probably gonna believe it. It's just real raw, and I really love that about his book. Like Nikki Hayden said, I'm all in, right? So
Yeah,
I'm
so
all
I
in.
did. I used to read, man. So some of the books I read when I was in World Superbike, because of all the flying and stuff, was Kelly Slater's book. That's a really good book to read. And Eddie Aikau is another one, famous surfer, Eddie Aikau Invitational in Hawaii. Those are two of my favorite. And then another one's called oh man, what is it? Something like Love for the Storm or something. It's about a kid that his family died, like the plane crashed into the mountain out in California. It's a true story. And the kid was 8 and he had to like come down from 12,000 feet from like above the tree line through the snow, like frostbite, hypothermia. And he had to hike himself out while seeing his father and his mother and sister dead, and he was a sole survivor and wrote a book. And he talks about, I read it just before I had my son, is about being a father, and the stuff his dad did gave him the ability to survive that, unbeknown to himself, about how his dad was an adrenaline junkie. He would chase big waves in Baja and drag him up into the mountains in the Sierras, and take him out on powder days and make him do moguls and make him do stuff that he thought was harsh when he was a little kid, but saved his life.
I'm about to check that out for sure. It sounds like a great book.
Love for the Storm or something. That's what it is.
Storm. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Dude, what's your go-to karaoke song?
I don't karaoke, man.
Come on, Jeff.
I've never karaoke, and you'd probably have to get me hammered drunk, man, and maybe it would happen, but I doubt it.
Well, next time we're together, I'm gonna have to. That is my mission. I'm gonna get Geoff May drunk, and we're gonna do a live karaoke at the track. You guys heard it here first. It's gonna be a mega time for sure, dude. That's hilarious. What's your worst habit as far as like, especially in racing or still to this day? Mine's kind of procrastination. I procrastinate on certain shit sometimes.
I'd say that's the same with me, honestly. I have ADD, bad ADHD.
Yeah,
and it's weird. Like, I grew up with it as a kid in school and really struggled with it. And then my whole life through racing, it went away. Like, it just went away, or it was irrelevant in racing. I think it was actually maybe a gift for racing. And then now back in reality, in the real world, in my 40s, ADHD and the procrastination it causes and overthinking everything is absolutely something I struggle with day to day. It's tough.
Yeah, I got ADHD. I grew up with it at a young age. Doctor wanted to put me on Ritalin. Parents said, hell no. So I didn't grow up drinking sodas or birthdays and shit like that. Yeah, for the most part. No, I still don't take medicine for it. And it's the only thing where I'm really hyper focused is being at the races, doing a podcast, watching motorcycle races, or when my son's involved in, of course, my wife, right? Other than that, I could be literally sitting there watching a TV show and be all into it. And 30 minutes later, I'm like, what the hell even happened? Like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on, So it's a day-to-day mental grind for sure. Bobby Levitt said, challenge accepted. Challenge accepted. Oh my God. I love it, man. I love it. If you could travel back to any era of time, what time would you travel back to?
Oh, that's a good one, man. Man, probably I think it'd be like the 1900s. Probably would be pretty cool. There's a few different eras, man, or like, the birth of this country, around that time, George Washington time. That would have been pretty wild exploration, like everything was a new frontier. Be pretty exciting life to live. Yeah, short life. I mean, I don't think most of them lived very long. I'd be dead already.
Me and you both, my friend. Me and you both, right? Oh my God, that's awesome. When we gonna see Geoff May back in the paddock?
Maybe next year. I don't know, man. I've had a lot of time to think about things, and I asked some of my crew chief, like old crew chiefs and people that really know me as a racer, and I'm like, would that be stupid to come back? And I'm like, man, if it makes sense, for you and your family, they're like, go for it, and you still got it. And that's the whole thing is like, I went and did the GNF last year to kind of prove to myself, building into this year, I wanted to come back this year and do the whole Stock 1000 series. And I tried to put together some deals, and I showed myself, like, I went out there and I did the lap times that would have put me at the front of Stock 1000, just like I always did before, without being on a motorcycle for over a year, and just showed up cold off the couch. And it's like, okay, I got the speed. I know how to do this. If I trained properly, I had some sponsors behind me. There's no doubt in my mind I could do it. I can't say that'd be the case 3 years from now, or, it's just, that's the way life goes. The longer I'm away from it, the likelihood of being able to do it increasingly shrinks every year. So if I can make money at it the way I did before, because that's my thing is I can't bring myself to do pro racing for free. I'll go do track days for free. I'll go do club racing for free and spend money and my own money on it for the pleasure. But if it's a pro thing, I got to get paid because those dudes at the front are giving it every single thing they got.
Oh, Jeff froze up. Let me see if I can do something. Are you there, Jeff? I think we're having a little technical difficulties. Mark Moore, do it. Yeah, absolutely. Love to see him back. Taco Bell Internet, bro. I was getting ready to say that, Bobby. That was the next thing I was going to say. Taco Bell Internet, baby. It's hilarious. Let's see if we can get Geoff May back in. Man, what an interview. What a guy. What a legend. Jeff is an absolute legend of our sport. I remember growing up watching him at the track. Such great memories. Rode some of the best wheelies, some of the best battles. Man, I hope he pops back in so we can finish this interview. If not, you guys stay tuned because we're definitely going to sit down for a part two. I'll text him. Yeah, I'm getting ready to text him right now too and be like, bro, what happened? It's a cool thing. I could edit this out. Here we go. Maybe.
God.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he was. I was like, oh, we just lost him. Bobby said Taco Bell Internet. LOL.
Nah, I didn't have my phone plugged in. My
Oh my
battery
god.
bank. I don't know. I was saying is like at the pro level, and the older you get, that's the tough thing, man. That's the big thing is responsibilities in life. I have to be responsible for my family, my wife, my son. It's like if I'm going to take that risk, there has to be some reward to it. I can't just go out there for my own selfish desire to race because it's what I love more than anything at this point at the front, right? And it's easier said than done. Like we already talked about the state of things. Um, but I know if I got on a Honda, I could get out there and mix it up at the front. The lap times don't lie. I watch every race. I see what these guys are doing, and I miss it. I'd love to be back in the paddock. I just got to find a little sport.
Well, let's make this happen, man. I'll do everything I can, put it out there on all social medias, man. I'd love to see you back. And speaking of that, now it seems like everybody's friendly in the paddock, right? We didn't have those rivalries we used to have. For you personally, Jeff, being in the paddock, being the Spartan you are out there on the track, meaning when you put that helmet on, I want to rip your neck off, shit down your throat. I'm winning everything. How did you separate that and also being friends, if you had any friends at the paddock or the times you were racing? Was that a challenge for you?
I mean, it was a different time and a different place, man. Like I said, it was so cutthroat, and everybody was after. I mean, the same rides, right? There was only a handful. Same now as the same rides, but there was a lot of money on the line, so people took it way more serious. It wasn't easy to be friendly. I didn't have many friends in the paddock, which is another kind of regret. But that's just the lay of the land. It was like as I got later in my career, I didn't even realize it because I'm so easygoing and nice. I'll talk to anybody. But I had Billy Etheridge, and Billy came. I've known Billy since 2001, racing against him, and he's like, man, Jeff. He's like, I thought you were a freaking asshole for so long. He's like, you're actually a pretty cool dude. And I was like, Billy, what the hell, man? What made you think I was an asshole? And he's like, dude, you're just a dick. It's like I wasn't a dick, dude. I had my head down, like I had my blinders on. I was just focused on one thing, and that was going as fast as I absolutely could, so I could get that job and then get the next job and keep climbing the ladder. It wasn't personal. And Billy was always one that he was fun loving, cut up with everybody. So I took that to heart a little bit. I was like, dang. So in the back half of my career, I made it more of a point to talk to the other competitors and racers, see how they're doing and what's going on, because we do need to stick together. We do need to like not be fighting over peanuts and undercutting. That's what started happening, where everybody started undercutting everybody. Like, well, I'll do it cheaper. I'll do it cheaper. I'll do it cheaper. It became this race to the bottom. So it's better that everybody communicates, and we're stronger as a paddock in that sense, if the riders and even crew guys, communicate, because what's the point of wanting to rip someone's head off and shit down their neck for a penny?
True.
You're not
And
out there fighting for millions of dollars anymore.
yeah, that's true. And speaking on Billy, man, Rip Billy, he was it was an honor to know Billy Etheridge. He was absolutely amazing. As a matter of fact, it was my most controversial podcast I've ever done was with Billy Etheridge, Jeff.
I heard that.
Yeah, for sure.
I didn't watch it, but I heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah, it was I got a lot of love, but I also got a lot of shit on the back end, right? But like I told Billy, it took a while to get Billy on the podcast just because of who he was. He was like, "Oh, I think you'll make me out to be this and that." I'm like, "Bro, just go back and watch my podcast. That's not it at all." So we sat down. We had a lot of video chats and phone calls, and we become really good friends. And finally, he called me up one day. He's like, "You know how Billy is." He's like, he cusses all the time. Always like, "What the fuck are you doing right now?" I was like, "Talking to you on the phone." He's like, "Let's do this podcast." I was like, "Give me 2 hours. Let's make it happen." And yeah, we did it, and it was I'm glad I did it. I have no regrets about it at all, for sure. So
Sure, he was a no bullshit guy, man. He had a heart of gold.
yes, he did. Yes, he did. Are you into spicy foods? I love spicy foods.
Oh yeah, I love some spicy foods, man.
Good,
All
good.
all kinds of spicy. I like Mexican food. I like Thai food.
Love Thai food.
Spicy Italian food. All kinds of spice.
Have you ever done like the one chip challenge or anything like that?
I have not done the one chip. I don't like that hot. That's
Okay.
like I don't like blow your head off hot where it's like you can't even taste anything.
Yeah, I do, but I got to be in the mood to do it. So yeah. Let me ask you this: if you had your own private track day and you can invite any 3 people in the world, dead or alive, who you invite into your track?
I'd invite Michael Jordan first. Be like, let's go, man. That was one thing I always wanted to ride with him. He had done some track days with some of the other guys, and then by the time I got there, he wasn't really riding anymore. And so he'd probably be number one. Let's see who else. I mean, do they have to be able to ride? I mean, I guess they'd have to.
It could be anybody. It could be anybody you want. Historical figure, anybody.
Oh, I bring Jesus, man. You gotta invite Jesus.
Dude, he's gonna beat everybody. Why bring him, right? Like, leave him out of it. No, I'm just playing.
I don't know. I think he'd go. I think he'd be the slowest and let everybody think they're good.
Right? That's hilarious.
Oh man, I don't know. I'd probably. I'd love to ride with like my only really people like, man, who did I look up to as a racer? And at the time, I didn't really come from the sport, so there weren't really many guys I really looked up to. But the one that I did was Mick Doohan. I'd love to ride with Mick Doohan. I got to meet him one time. I got to meet, like you said, you got to meet Keanu Reeves, and I got to meet him when we were in Sepang in World Superbike. They had him there as some kind of ambassador, kind of doing like what Freddie's doing, something. He was there. Him and I hung out and we talked for hours, man. For the whole day, him and I talked, and it was cool because my son Riley was 2 years old at the time, and he was telling me all about his son Jack and how he's in karting, and then he was, he's into car racing, and so this past year it was awesome to see him get all the way to Formula One. It was pretty.
yeah.
It was pretty cool to see that, 10 years later after having the conversation, see it come to fruition.
He dude, Mick Doohan and Matt Mladen to me are like 2 peas in a pod. What I mean by that is the way they approach racing, especially their mentality when it come to it. Both legends of the sport for sure. I was a huge fan of Doohan, but if you go back and watch his old riding style compared to now, right? He's more dirt bike style, more upright, bike leaned over. Now everybody's dragging knees and shoulders, and
I think it was some of that had to do from his almost losing his leg.
Yeah.
I think you saw that with Larry Pegram too. Like Larry's riding style was kind of driven by his injuries earlier in his career, where he just physically couldn't do it. I tell people too, like at track days, they're like, well, how's my riding style? I was like, well, first of all, there is no correct, perfect riding style. Don't look at the MotoGP guys and say that's the pinnacle of riding style. It's more of a, you hit on it a little bit, talking about me riding. It's more of an extension of yourself, and it's got to flow. It's got to be from within, like it's your style. And then you make the bike work around that, and look at my old teammate, Michael Barnes. He was the same way. Him and I turn an identical lap time, and we'd look opposite doing it. So you can't say there's right way, wrong way. It's more of how you do it.
Yeah, I consider it each rider brings their own unique element to the game, right? And that's your basically your signature, like almost like your signature dunk in basketball, whatever. It's that
Your
uniqueness.
golf swing, right, or your swing, or whatever. Dude. The funny thing is in that time period, like when I was really making a name for myself in 06, 07, 08 with Jordan. I was dragging a lot of elbow, looking kind of like the MotoGP guys now, and all these guys are like, "Dude, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong." I'm like, "Well, fuck, I'm at the front. How can it be wrong? Like, oh, it's 1,000. You got to get up on it and point and shoot it, man. You don't carry corner speed on 1,000." I'm like, "Well, now everybody's riding them that way." So I don't know, man.
It's a fact,
You
man.
can't you can't win for losing, right? You do one thing,
Yeah.
someone's going to tell you you're wrong. Do the go flip and do the opposite, and they're going to tell you wrong for doing that. So you got to feel it and go with your instinct.
Yep, I agree. Josh Shiver, sorry, he says, "How do you compare the bikes from National Guard Jordan Suzuki to today's Suzuki bikes? Is there any difference?"
I mean, honestly, there's not a lot other than electronics and more power. Those bikes, though, they were a lot lighter, because they were very minimalistic as far as wiring and just the frame set and the swing arm, and they were doing everything they could from a design standpoint to make them as absolutely as light as possible and as fast as possible. And you can go back and look at some of the lap times at like Laguna Seca. Um, those lap times are still, even now with like the new Suzuki's, not going that fast. And I don't really know how to explain it other than maybe the fact that the bikes have got, like you said, they've gotten too powerful where there's not enough grip for them. And at that time period in the late, 07, 06 through 08, before they changed that 09 bike, um, they were at the pinnacle of design development where they had the right horsepower torque ratio to the grip level and the weight of the bike. And, for example, you can go look it up, man. In 08, we were doing 24s at Laguna Seca on stock 1000 bikes,
And
which
that's
those
what
things,
Nicky Hayden did in MotoGP in '06, I think it was.
they were a little fast. I think they were probably 22s.
Okay, all right.
But, now, like if you go and look at what the guys that are on stock bikes, like JD and stuff out there at Laguna just a month ago, man, they're in the mid 25s. They're slower, and they have 40 more horsepower. In some cases, 50 more horsepower, because those Gixxers back then made around 175 to the rear tire. So I think we just had more grip. We could carry that corner speed that I was doing at the time. So um, I think that's maybe the difference, and partially the tires were a little different. We didn't have spec tires, so I do think at the time the manufacturers were forced to make a better tire because they were in competition as opposed to having a monopoly.
Yeah. That's something I wish they'd bring to Moto America's the Tire Wars back. I think it would be good for everybody in the paddock for sure.
Hands down, it'd be a win-win for everybody.
It would be because it'd bring, outside. Well, just it'd be different, right? Be like, hey, if you get in the top 10, we'll give you your next set of tires for free. Plus, it'd bring the competition to the tires instead of the evolution every 3 or 4 years to come out with a new Q4, 5, 7, 8, whatever it is now, right? It would just because some, let me ask you this, personally, riding from a Pirelli to a Dunlop, do you have a personal favorite of the way the tire gives you the feeling of a bike?
I can't say because, but for me, unfortunately, that's still political. I can say they are different, but for example, when I raced the Daytona 200 the last few years, I raced Pirelli, and when I did the pro shootout, I've won the pro shootout on the EBR on Dunlops and Pirellis. So it's not like, oh, you got to be on this tire, you can't win, right? Because I've won on both on the same motorcycle within 1 year back to back. I do prefer the Dunlop front. I'll tell you that. I always have. And I guess I'll say I prefer the Pirelli rear. If I could have my cake and eat it too, I'd have a Dunlop front and a Pirelli rear
I love it.
for outright lap time. But they're both really, really good tires. And I tell guys though, I'm like, man, don't switch. Just if you have a feeling and there's one you like, stick with it, because you don't have the time like I did, or people that are racing and you're going through 12 tires a weekend to really, get adjusted to going back and forth. It's cheap insurance to just stick with one.
Yeah, facts. Mark B. Jones says Billy's podcast was interesting, one of the best interviews yet. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, you'll have to go back and check that out sometime when you have some time. Do you have any hidden talents we don't know about, Geoff May?
Yeah. Well, one, I was when I was in high school, I didn't know what I was going to really do before the whole got the racing bug, and I was going to be a chef. I was going to go to a culinary school, so that's my hidden talent. I do a lot of cooking.
I like it. Are you a beer, wine, or bourbon guy?
Beer. I'm a beer guy, hands down. I love me some beer. That's how Ricky Bobby and I met. It's a funny story.
Tell it. Please tell.
He tells it better. I was just hot off the track, man, and he started chatting me up, and he had some IPA there. He's like, "Want an IPA?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I want an IPA." We started drinking some Holy City beer right there down in Roebling, and man, we hit it off. I think it was about 10 years ago, to 2016 or something. Oh yeah, we met over beer, man. You never know who you're going to meet over a good cold beer.
Facts. He also says Jeff cooks a mean steak. Is that a fact?
Facts.
Facts. I like it too.
I do a lot of cooking, man.
Me too. I get it from my mom. It's funny because obviously I'm grown up, right? So when I first moved out, I'm on my own. I'm starting to cook all this shit, right? Because I don't want to eat fast food and all this other junk. So I'm like, I'm gonna make it. I watch my mom do it, and I'd call my mom. I'd be like, Hey, what's that other ingredient you put in your marinara or whatever? I forget what I was doing at the time. The only thing she said to me was, "Holy shit, you actually paid attention to something." I'm like, duh. Just tell me the ingredient, mom. I'm in the middle of cooking, right? So yeah, that's where my love of cooking comes from. I went on this health diet probably about 2 years ago. Dude, I weighed 270 pounds. I was in a 40-inch waist. I'm in a 34-inch. I weigh 208 right now. All about
Nice.
changing my diet, making homemade salad dressings, cooking home cooked meals, with real good ingredients, staying away from the middle aisles, all that shit. So
all the garbage that's in our food these days.
that's something everybody struggles with on a day-to-day basis. People don't realize how bad the food is in the grocery stores. It's fucking horrible.
We didn't have to worry about it being kids of the 80s, right? It wasn't that bad then. I've seen some articles on it now where because I say that with my son and my wife, like, Gatorade's fine, man. I used to drink gallons of that stuff, And she's like, you better go check the facts on that. And you go back and do the research. It's like what it was in it then, it ain't the same anymore. And so it's like, oh shit, you got to shift your mindset and.
Yeah, change your mind, change your diet, or change your diet, change your mind. One of those two, either or, right?
Both.
Yeah, both for sure, absolutely. Did you have any rituals when you prepare? I call it preparing for battle, right? So, did you have any superstitions you did? Left boot on before your right boot, wear your socks inside out, anything like that?
I had a weird one. I had a weird superstition, but it wasn't a ritual or anything. I had my 25 minutes before I went out every time I went out down to a science since like 2007. Basically, my warm up routine to how long it took me to put on my boots, my gloves, my suit, and get to the wall. Because I hated being there early, man. It's so hot, right? It's so hot that you don't want to be standing around in your leathers just sweating and losing hydration for no reason. So I always timed it where I was at the pit wall, the hot pit, 7 to 5 minutes before I had to get on the bike. So then I knew exactly how long everything took. So I had a routine in that sense. 10-minute warm up on the bicycle on the stationary on the trainer. And there was reasons for that too, from the physical side. But the only superstition I had, which I broke it finally, a few years ago, but it lasted for over 20 something years. It happened my first year club racing. Is somehow it got in my head, or I figured out that I traced every crash I had had at the time from starting racing or riding, riding a sport bike, that I'd had fish the night before. And I was like, fuck, I can't have fish before I race or ride a bike because I'm going to crash. And one time early, it was around my second year racing. I was like, I'm going to break this curse. I'm going to break it. Like, this is bullshit. If I'm ever going to be a pro racer, this is when I was expert in wear. I'm like, if I'm ever going to, this was before the GNF. I'm like, if I'm ever going to break this curse, like or be professional, I can't have this. Right. So, I went to an all you could eat Friday night catfish fry. Got on the bike the next morning, made it half a lap, fucking high sided, and broke my wrist. And so I was like, nope, that's it. I can deal with it. I'm never eating fish again before I ride.
I
And
love
then
it.
it got to the point when I was at M4 where it extended then and even to the crew members, because we'd be somewhere and I'd crash. I'm like, all right, who had fish? And then one of the mechanics would be like in the corner, raise his hand like, you're out. You can't have fish. You're fired.
Yeah.
And so then none of the mechanics would have fish. And so that carried on through my career where me, my crew, or family, or anybody around me would not eat fish the night before I rode. And then I actually broke it at Roebling around the time I met Ricky Bobby. I went out and had sushi the night before, not thinking about it. And then I went out there and raced. And after I raced, I realized that I'd had sushi. And I was like, oh, well, it's gone after 20 years.
Oh my God, that's awesome. Geoff, listen, this has been a proper mega time. Me and you definitely got to sit back down for a part two, but I have one last question and then we'll get to all our shout outs and all that good stuff. Listen, right now we're 2025, let's say 2026 season. Money was no object, and you, Geoff, could have your own super bike team or super sport team, Twins Cup, whatever it is you want to do in Moto America. What is the manufacturer of bike you would have, and who are the two current riders that are currently racing in Moto America you'd put on those bikes?
That's a good one, man. Man, I don't know, dude. I think I'd probably. That's a tough one. I gotta say I have an A and a B scenario. A, I'd go with Ducati. I'd keep Josh Herron on the bike, and then I'd ride it.
I love it.
B, I'd get a World Superbike Honda. I'd bring that into the paddock, and I would probably get Bobby Fong and Cameron Bouvier.
I love it. I love it. Well, Geoff, it's been an absolute honor. We'll definitely sit down, like I said, and do a part two. Before I leave the microphone to you to close out the podcast, I just want to let everybody know thank you so much. Everybody that likes and subscribes and listens to this podcast, I greatly appreciate it. It's an absolute honor to do this, and I love every single one of you. Big shout out to Chef Eats, TST Industry. Everybody asks me where I get my soft shell jackets and my beanie hats from. You guys can go to theclothingkings.co.uk, go to the partnership, scroll down, you'll see Pin the Gas. You can order all the merch you want. Big shout out to SFL Mini GP. I'm a huge fan of SFL Mini Jersey in South Florida. That's where a lot of the future kids are coming out. It's like I had this conversation, Geoff. You took everybody in the paddock right now that's 25 years old and older out. Who are we left with? That is the future of our sport.
Yeah.
So it's I'm a big advocate of all the mini programs throughout the United States. That's why I interview all the kids, and it's kind of difficult to interview a 9 and a 10-year-old. Let's just be honest, right? But I get them on here and have conversations with them because I think it's important for our sport. One of these days, you
100%.
never know. One of them kids might be a MotoGP world champ one day. You just never know, right?
I mean, there's a reason you have guys like Ben Spees and the Haydens and all them dudes. They did that,
It's possible.
Got to start young.
Got to start them young, right? And one question I've been getting asked a lot is, how would one American truly make it over there in a path to, let's say, MotoGP? My advice is do what Christian Daniel did with his son and Nathan Gauker and him. Man, you got to go out to to Europe. You got to go out there and train and train with them guys and live that lifestyle because they have the proper training and bikes that our infrastructure is based on production racing.
Yeah,
It always has been.
I think it's a double-edged sword, man, because you look at the heroes of the sports. You look at the Kevin Schwantzes, the Freddie Spencers, the Wayne Rainey's, Colin Edwards, Nicky Hayden. They all came from here. They all came from kind of the same cloth. Yeah, some of them dirt tracked. I think it's a misperception. I mean, honestly, I think you're right, but it's all about perception. And over there, the perception from them is we're not good enough, right? They perceive we're not good enough. So in return, Americans don't get the opportunity. I guarantee you, if Cam Bouvier or Josh Heron or any of our, even JD Beach, any of them, I don't care, man. You take any of our top guys right at the front, if they got the opportunity on a factory seat over there, just like Nikki Hayden and John Hopkins did, they would do the same thing. But they're not going to get that opportunity. They got to come in on a B team like Gerloff, and they got to struggle and struggle and struggle. And if maybe by chance they get through that struggle, they might get an opportunity. That's too much of a long game. It doesn't work. So I think you're right. I think the only way for an American to go to have a shot in GP is to do what you're seeing the framework is laid with Joe Roberts over there. He got his ass over there as soon as possible. And he's been what has it been 10 years over there now? I don't know. He's been over there a long damn time, and he's at the front. He's winning. So you get over there. If you want to race in Europe, you get over there as soon as you absolutely can. You race. And guess what? Life's cheaper over there, anyways. So it'd be a better lifestyle, cheaper lifestyle, and you have more fun, and your kid might have a shot at making it. I don't see anybody coming out on Moto America. They've been talking about that for 10 years and have produced absolutely nothing. So to me, it's just a false dream they're selling. And from what I saw in my time in World Superbike 10 years ago, that was the case then. It's the case now. You got to get over there and you got to get in with those people and that crew and that group of people and make a name for yourself, and you'll get the opportunity. Yeah. It is not an issue of talent. No. It is 0% an issue of talent. It's all about perception and versus reality. Hands down.
Yeah, I agree 110%. Yeah, well, listen, Geoff, dude, this has been a lot of fun. Absolute honor to have you on. Is there anything you want to say? Any shout outs you want to give or anything before we end this?
No, man. I mean, really just I appreciate everybody that's ever supported me in any way. You're seeing Brian Stokes pop up on there, Ryan Rawls, Ricky Bobby, everybody just there's hundreds of people along the way that have helped me in little bits, even as little as carrying my helmet for me. You never know, or people who give me thousands of dollars like to help. Anybody that's helped me along my whole way that gave me a 23-year run at this sport, I truly appreciate it. And all the sponsors. I got none of that now. I mean, I'm just some old retired dude, but I'd like to thank all those people, man. Thank my Lord Jesus Christ, man, my Lord and Savior, for keeping me safe and taking a nobody and giving him a chance in an unbelievable career that absolutely makes no sense. Talking about the pathway to doing this. I showed up at a race drunk as a high schooler saying, I'm going to do that. And I went and did it, which makes absolutely no sense. So
I love it. Well, listen, Bobby Levitt says, Simcoe, you got to come out to my track day on 922 at Roebling, calling you out. Give me a call, Bobby, after the pod. Actually, I got a business chat with a sponsor after this, so I'll call you after that's over. But we'll see if I can make that happen. And to answer not answer your question, Geoff, you're an absolute legend, my friend. Huge fan right here. Watched you growing up. You gave me a lot of hopes and inspirations. You was one of the guys that I looked up to the whole time you raced. Like I said, it was your aura, it was your energy, it was the way you interacted with everybody. It was your unique riding style. One of my favorites, still is to this day. You, my friend, thank you.
I appreciate it, Chris.
Awesome.
It means a lot to me.
No problem, man. Listen, looking forward to our part 2. I'll give you a call. Hopefully I'll see you at the track soon, before the year ends. If not, yeah, I'll see you at the track. I got your number. I'll give you a call. We'll sort it out.
Sooner than later. I might be trying to put something together for the Vintage Festival for that pro shootout if they bring it back, which looks like maybe happening. So
that's in October, ain't it?
That's in October. Yeah, first week of October this year.
At Barber.
At Barber.
Correct. Yep. All right. Well, I'll see if I can make my way out there and be in your corner cheering you on. If you need any help, I'll carry your helmet for you. I'll be your umbrella, bitch. Whatever it takes, I got you for sure. So. It, man. Yeah, man, no problem. Anything I can do to help you out, man. Oh, one more question. Did you ever sell that bike? I posted it. I shared it on a bunch of groups and stuff.
No, not yet.
I don't see why, dude. That's a smoking deal on that motorcycle.
It's a tough economy right now, man. And it's mid-season, and I don't know. It baffles me.
Me too. When you told me about it and I've read the stats, I was like, bro, this should be an easy sell.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if
Tough times, man. We need things to get a little better for everybody.
absolutely do. So if anybody's in the market for a proper mega weapon, hit up my man Geoff May. He's got one for sale, and he's only asking, I think, 22, 23 for it.
Yeah, down I got $21,000, man. $45,000 build.
Bro, you can't, dude. It's somebody needs to jump on that. But yeah, anyway, Geoff, it's been an absolute honor, my friend. I'll shoot you a text and we'll line up part 2.
Right on, man. Sounds good.
All right, my man. I appreciate you coming on. It's been an
Peace.
absolute honor. See ya.
See you, buddy.
Calling all two-wheel enthusiasts, get ready to rev up your earbuds with Pin the Gas Podcast, the ultimate motorcycle racing podcast, hosted by Chris Simcoe, one of our very own excellent leaders here in Roanoke, Virginia. With expert analysis, behind-the-scenes stories, and exclusive writer interviews, Pin the Gas Podcast delivers the adrenaline rush of the racetrack straight to your ears. Whether you're a diehard fan or a curious newcomer, you'll gain insights that will transform how you watch and understand motorcycle racing. On your favorite podcast app, join Simcoe as he takes you on a high-speed journey through the world of motorcycle racing. Pin the Gas Podcast.